So, here's the thing. My wife's dad is a urologist. Yeah, the guy literally knows all about the down there stuff. When we first started dating, I didn't think much of it, he seemed like a nice guy. But one day, I was hanging out with one of my buddies, and out of nowhere, he brought up this random topic, penis enlargement pills. He asked me if I thought they were legal and if they actually worked. Of course, I didn't have an answer. But my buddy was insistent that my girlfriend, now wife, could totally ask her dad about it. I was like, yeah, right, I'm not getting involved in that. But then, as we kept talking, it hit me, he wanted her to ask her dad. Not just casually either, like, in a way that he'd know we were talking about me. He thought it would be hilarious to have her bring it up to him as a friend rather than as my girlfriend. Looking back, I should have known better. But I trusted my wife, too much, I guess. The next day, she does it. I mean, she actually asks her dad about penis enlargement pills. Like, seriously? I couldn't believe it. She asked him, straight-faced, if they were legal and if they worked. And the worst part? Her dad immediately figures out she's talking about me. Of course, I didn't know this at the time. Thanks, babe. When I found out, I was, well, let's just say I was pissed. I remember the moment clearly, sitting at home, scrolling through my phone, when my wife casually brings up the conversation she had with her dad. She was all nonchalant about it, as if it was no big deal. I stared at her for a moment, trying to wrap my head around it. You asked your dad about that? Seriously? I could feel the heat rising in my chest. Anger? Confusion? Maybe a bit of both. But more than anything, I felt betrayed. It wasn't just the fact that she'd asked him about something so personal, it was the way she'd done it. The fact that she didn't think about how it would make me feel, or how it might affect our relationship. Why would you do that? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. My head was spinning. How had we gone from casual dating to this weird dynamic where she was talking to her dad about stuff that should have been between us? She didn't even seem to understand why it bothered me. It was just a joke, she said. But jokes like that don't just stay jokes. Not when you're dealing with family and intimacy. That's when the doubt started creeping in. Was she really the person I thought she was? Was I just another joke to her? I didn't know how to feel mad, humiliated, or just plain lost. But one thing was clear, I felt like I couldn't trust her the way I did before. After the whole penis enlargement pill incident, things just felt different between us. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, and honestly, I didn't know how to address it. I tried to brush it off at first, pretending everything was fine. But it wasn't. I started to notice little things that bothered me even more. Like how she would casually bring up her dad's medical advice, as if his opinion was the gold standard in every situation. Or how she seemed to think that asking personal questions about me to her dad was just some harmless thing. It ate at me more and more. I wasn't the kind of guy who likes to start fights, but I could feel this anger building up, like a storm that I couldn't stop. So, I finally snapped. One night, I confronted her. I asked her why she couldn't have just asked me about something so private instead of turning to her dad. Why didn't you just talk to me? I asked. Her reaction threw me for a loop. She didn't get why I was so upset. She thought I was overreacting. Overreacting? The more I heard her explain it away, the angrier I became. It wasn't just about the pills or the joke, it was about the fact that she didn't understand the gravity of the situation. She wasn't taking my feelings seriously, and that hurt way more than I thought it would. It felt like I was the only one in the relationship who understood the boundaries of what was okay and what wasn't. And that stung. More than I could have predicted. The days following that argument were tense. We barely spoke unless it was necessary, and when we did, it was like walking on eggshells. I tried to give her space to reflect, but every time I looked at her, I saw that same sense of detachment. It was like she didn't even realize how deep the wound was for me. It wasn't just that she'd crossed a boundary with her dad, it was that she had shown such a lack of understanding of why it mattered. One night, as I sat alone in our living room, I found myself replaying the entire thing in my mind. And then it hit me, the true weight of it. This wasn't just about a single incident. This was about the fact that, over time, I had been putting all my trust in her, and she hadn't done the same for me. It wasn't just about her not respecting my privacy or her not considering my feelings. It was about her seeing me as less important than the opinions of her dad, or a joke from a friend. I wasn't first in her life in the way that I thought I was. I realized that this wasn't just a small misunderstanding. This was a pattern I'd ignored. A pattern where, again and again, my feelings came second to her comfort, her convenience, her relationships with other people. The more I thought about it, the more I saw how many times I'd overlooked things like this in the past, small signs of her not truly valuing me the way I needed. And now, it all made sense. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a joke. This was a red flag. I had to decide what to do with that knowledge. Should I keep pretending it didn't bother me? Or was this the point where I had to face the truth and make some hard decisions? I spent the next couple of days thinking hard about what I really wanted and what I really deserved. I mean, was I really ready to live the rest of my life with someone who thought my private feelings were a punchline? Was I going to be okay being second priority to her dad, her friends, her jokes? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got, not just at her, but at myself. I had let this slide. I had made excuses for her because I loved her. I didn't want to see the bad parts. I told myself that everyone makes mistakes, that maybe I was being too sensitive. But now it was like all those little moments I had brushed aside came crashing down at once. And it was overwhelming. One night, I sat her down and told her we needed to talk seriously, no jokes, no brushing it off. I needed to know, did she understand why I was hurt? Did she even care enough to want to fix it? At first, she gave me another half-hearted apology. "I'm sorry you feel that way," she said. You know, that classic non-apology that basically means nothing. That was when I knew she didn't get it. And worse, she didn't want to get it. So I made the decision. I told her I needed space. Real space. I was going to move out for a while, stay with a buddy across town. Not to punish her, not to play games, but because I needed to protect myself. I needed time to think without her trying to smooth things over with shallow words. And honestly, saying those words out loud felt like ripping off a band-aid. It hurt like hell, but underneath, there was this strange, quiet sense of relief. Like maybe, just maybe, I was finally standing up for myself. Packing my bags was one of the most surreal experiences of my life. It wasn't like we were fighting and screaming or anything, no, it was quiet. Awkward. Heavy. She sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone, barely looking up as I zipped up the suitcase. That, more than anything, told me everything I needed to know. I loaded up my car late at night, hoping to avoid any awkward run-ins with neighbors. It felt like I was sneaking out of my own life. As I pulled away from our place, I caught a glimpse of the living room light still on through the window. She didn't even come outside. No tears. No begging me to stay. Just silence. Driving to my buddy's apartment across town, I had this pit in my stomach. A part of me kept asking if I was overreacting. Maybe I was being too dramatic. Maybe things weren't that bad. But every time I second-guessed myself, I remembered the look on her face, blank, indifferent, and the ache in my chest twisted even tighter. When I got to my buddy's place, he opened the door and just said, "Man, rough night?" I just nodded, wheeled my suitcase inside, and slumped onto the couch. I didn't even want to talk. I just wanted the world to stop spinning for a second. I laid there staring at the ceiling that night, wondering how things had gotten so far off track. We were supposed to be building a future together, and here I was, crashing at a friend's place like a college kid after a breakup. The worst part? Deep down, I knew this wasn't just a break. This was the beginning of something bigger, and not in the way I had hoped. A few days after I moved out, I got a text from her. Short. Cold. "We should talk." Part of me didn't even want to answer. I wasn't ready for another round of gaslighting or excuses. But curiosity, and maybe a shred of hope, got the better of me. So we agreed to meet at a coffee shop. Public place, neutral ground. Somewhere she couldn't turn it into a fight behind closed doors. When I walked in, she was already sitting at a corner table, fidgeting with her cup. She didn't even look like the woman I had fallen for. She looked nervous, cornered. I sat down across from her, arms crossed, waiting. And then, she dropped a bomb on me. She admitted that the whole asking her dad thing wasn't even about my friend. It wasn't just some stupid favor. She confessed that she and her friends had actually been joking about me for a while behind my back. Apparently, she had made a comment to a few of them early in our relationship, something stupid about how he's not exactly packing heat, and it had become an inside joke. They had all thought it would be hilarious if she brought it up to her dad like it was a real question. I just sat there, staring at her, trying to process the words coming out of her mouth. She had humiliated me not just in private, but publicly to her friends. The woman I trusted most had turned me into a joke. And the worst part? She didn't even seem that sorry. It was like she thought telling me the truth would somehow fix it. Like honesty could erase the hurt. In that moment, something inside me broke. Not in an explosive, angry way. In a cold, final way. The way something snaps when it's been stretched too far for too long. And I knew there was no going back. I sat there across from her, feeling like the whole room had gone completely silent except for the pounding of my own heart. She kept talking, rambling, really trying to explain how it was just jokes, how everyone jokes about their partners sometimes. As if that was supposed to make me feel better. I didn't even hear half of what she said. I was too focused on how numb I felt. It was like the final piece of the puzzle had clicked into place, and the picture it showed was one I couldn't unsee. She didn't respect me. Not really. Not deep down where it mattered. I thought about all the moments where I had trusted her completely. About the secrets I had shared. The vulnerable conversations. The times I let my guard down because I believed she would protect my heart, not hand it over to her friends for a laugh. And now, here she was, trying to act like this betrayal was just some silly misunderstanding. Like I was the one being dramatic for caring about it. I stood up without saying a word. I grabbed my jacket off the back of the chair, tossed a few bills onto the table to cover my coffee, and just walked out. I didn't look back. I didn't say goodbye. Because what was there left to say? In my mind, the relationship ended right there in that coffee shop. Not with a fight. Not with screaming. But with the heavy, irreversible realization that love can't survive without respect. Walking out of that coffee shop felt final, but the emotional fallout hit me way harder than I expected. I thought I'd feel powerful, like I had taken control of my life. Instead, I just felt hollow. The first few days were rough. Every little thing reminded me of her. I'd wake up at my buddy's place and instinctively reach for my phone to text her. I'd catch myself halfway through typing something dumb, like "Did you eat yet?" before remembering she's not your person anymore. There was this gut-wrenching sadness I hadn't prepared for. Not because I missed her exactly, but because I missed the idea of her. The idea that I had someone who had my back. Someone who saw me, flaws and all, and chose me anyway. Turns out, that was a lie I had been telling myself for a long time. Some nights, I'd sit in my car after work just staring out the windshield, too exhausted to even go inside. Music didn't help. Friends didn't help. Nothing filled the void. I realized then that grieving a relationship isn't just mourning the person, you mourn the future you thought you were building. You mourn the promises, the plans, the cozy Saturday mornings that were supposed to stretch on forever. And somehow, the betrayal made it worse. Because not only had I lost her, but I had lost the trust one once had in my own judgment. If I could be that wrong about someone, how could I trust myself again? After the sadness came the anger, fast, hot, and all-consuming. At first, I tried to push it down, telling myself it wasn't worth it. That I should be the bigger person. But anger doesn't just go away because you tell it to. It started small. A sarcastic comment when a friend asked about her. An eye roll when I passed by a restaurant we used to love. But then it grew. I was mad at her for humiliating me. Mad at myself for letting it happen. Mad that I had wasted so much time trying to build something with someone who saw me as a joke behind my back. There were days I wanted to call her, scream at her, make her feel even a fraction of the shame and humiliation she had dumped on me. There were nights I fantasized about sending her friends a message telling them exactly what kind of person she was. But I didn't. Not because I didn't want to, but because deep down, I knew it wouldn't fix anything. It wouldn't give me back the trust. It wouldn't give me back the relationship I thought I had. All it would do was keep me chained to the anger longer than I needed to be. And I was already carrying enough weight. So instead, I started doing something different. Every time the anger bubbled up, I made myself go do something physical, go for a run, lift weights, clean the hell out of my friend's apartment. Anything to burn it off. I couldn't control what she had done. But I could control what I did with the pieces she left behind. Little by little, life started to feel manageable again. Not good. Not yet. But manageable. I focused on small victories. Getting up early even when I didn't want to. Cooking my own meals instead of just grabbing fast food. Calling my parents just to say hi, not because I needed to vent. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't some big movie moment of transformation. It was just a slow, steady crawl back to feeling human again. I started hitting the gym more seriously, not just out of anger this time, but because it gave me structure, a routine. Something I could control when everything else felt out of my hands. I also started setting boundaries with people in my life. Friends who brushed off what happened like it was no big deal. I stopped confiding in them. I realized I didn't need people around me who minimized my feelings or tried to guilt me into forgiving too soon. There was a strange freedom in that. It's like I had been carrying around this giant invisible backpack full of everyone else's expectations, what I should feel, what I should forgive, how fast I should move on, and I finally just dropped it. For the first time in a long time, I was making choices based on what I needed. Not what would make other people comfortable. And damn, that felt good. Lonely sometimes, sure. But real. And real was something I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Just when I thought I was finally finding some peace, she texted me again. Out of nowhere. Months later. Hey. Just wanted to say I miss you. I've been thinking about you a lot lately. I stared at my phone for a long time, feeling a whole storm of emotions welling up, confusion, anger, even a little sadness. For a moment, I'll be honest, part of me wanted to answer. Part of me missed the comfort, the routine, the easy parts of what we had. But then I remembered everything else. The betrayal. The humiliation. The blank look on her face when I packed my bags and left without a fight. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of me that stuck around no matter how badly she treated him. She missed having someone to lean on, to laugh at, to take for granted. And I wasn't that guy anymore. I didn't reply. Not a word. Instead, I sat there quietly, letting myself feel all of it, the nostalgia, the hurt, the sadness, and then I let it pass through me like a wave. No dramatic goodbye speech. No need for revenge or explanations. Just a quiet, final decision to keep moving forward. Because healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about learning to value yourself enough not to let it happen again. After ignoring her message, it felt like a new chapter officially started. I wasn't just getting over her, I was building something entirely different for myself. I moved out of my buddy's apartment and got a small place of my own. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom with a view of a scrappy little park, but it was mine. Every piece of furniture, every decision about where to hang a picture or how to arrange the kitchen cabinets, felt like reclaiming a part of myself. I got serious about my career too. Instead of just coasting along, distracted by relationship drama, I started pouring my energy into work. I took on projects I used to be too nervous to volunteer for. Started saying yes to opportunities instead of second-guessing myself. Funny thing was, people started noticing. My boss, coworkers, even casual friends, they all picked up on the shift. It wasn't that I had magically become someone else overnight. It's just that, for the first time in a long time, I wasn't dragging the weight of someone else's disrespect around with me anymore. I was lighter. Clearer. And with every passing day, I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I hadn't lost anything important at all. Maybe I had dodged something that would have crushed me if I had stayed. And honestly, that realization felt better than any apology she could have ever offered. Looking back now, it's easy to see all the red flags I missed or maybe didn't want to see. The little comments she made at my expense. The way she could never quite apologize without making herself the victim. How quick she was to laugh at me instead of with me. At the time, I brushed it all off. Told myself I was being too sensitive. That every relationship had its quirks. That nobody's perfect. But here's what I know now. Respect isn't a quirk. It's not optional. It's not something you earn from someone who loves you, it's supposed to be the foundation the whole thing is built on. Without it, it doesn't matter how much history you have, how great the sex is, or how much you wish things were different. It's already broken. And staying in a relationship where you're treated like a joke doesn't make you loyal, it makes you forget who you are. It makes you shrink yourself down smaller and smaller until one day you don't even recognize the guy looking back at you in the mirror. Walking away wasn't easy. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But it saved me. It gave me the space to rebuild myself, not the version of me she needed, or tolerated, or made fun of, but the real me. Flaws, strengths, all of it. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. It's been a while now. Time does that, it heals, it dulls, and it offers a new perspective. I'm not going to pretend I'm over it in the way that's always sold in movies or self-help books. I still think about her sometimes. I still catch myself wondering what might have been if things had worked out differently. But those thoughts don't control me anymore. I've learned to trust myself again. To recognize my worth, not because of who I'm with or how I'm perceived by others, but because of the person I've grown into after all of this. I still struggle with vulnerability. I still have moments where I get scared of letting someone in, afraid that I'll be laughed at or discarded like I was before. But I'm getting better at navigating those fears. I'm getting better at knowing that any relationship worth having will never make me feel small or unimportant. And if I ever find myself in a relationship again, it will be with someone who respects me from the start, not as a joke, not as a project, but as an equal. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, whether you've been humiliated or just feel like you've lost yourself in a relationship, let me say this. Don't wait for an apology. Don't wait for closure. The closure comes when you decide you're done, when you stop letting someone treat you less than you deserve. That's when the healing starts. And trust me, it's worth it.